Alrighty. Let me switch these images around. Okay. Everybody, it is Friday night and you are here living, what is it? Living the abundant life. Yes, indeed. And we have therapist Tori in the building. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. So happy it's Friday. It's the
Yeah,
end of a short but long week.
I
It's
agree with
like whenever you have that like holiday in the week, it still feels like a long week for some reason. I'm not sure why, but
you.
yeah.
Right. I
So
agree with you. At least we made it through this week. Aren't you glad? Thank God it is Friday.
yes,
Yes,
yes, yes,
I
yes.
heard that.
Always look forward to the weekend.
Indeed. So we had an exciting last Friday with your premiere, and
Hmm.
I've gotten a lot of good reviews of people just enjoying the overall conversation and hearing you being a part of it. So we're just excited about your podcast and everything. So, what do you have in store for us today?
Well, I mean, honestly, like I was sharing with you a little earlier, it's been kind of a tough week. Got some tough news about a client that I lost to terminal illness. So, I mean, it was someone that I've been seeing for a few years, and so that was tough. Um, so, but yeah, have been very excited about the podcast. I love everybody on the
Mhm.
Blast crew. Um, and I guess like one of the things that I've been thinking about, I guess a lot this week is the idea and the concept of perfection.
Mhm.
Um, you know, being a therapist and talking to people, I feel like is something that comes up a lot, and it's something that creates a lot of anxiety. Because it's like with anything, any venture, anything that that you plan to do. It's like we create these ideas about how we want it to happen, and whether it's your love life, whether it's business, career, your kids, you know, we have like this thought process about what we think it should be,
Correct.
and so um, I think sometimes people have a lot of anxiety if it's not perfect,
Mhm.
or if it's not, their idea of perfect. Um, and, to be honest with you, like the last couple of years, like, when the beginning of the pandemic, I really started to do um, more meditation, and I read a couple of Eckhart Tolle's books. And I'm sure there's some people who are pretty familiar with Eckhart Tolle. Oprah Winfrey sings his praises. So there's a book called The Power of Now,
Okay.
and there's another book called The New Earth. And so the past couple of years, it really has caused me to look at, like the whole concept of ego in a totally different way. Most of the time, when someone says ego,
Mhm.
people think, oh, you're talking about pride, or you
Mhm.
talking about somebody that's arrogant, or, puffed up or stuck on themselves. Um, but ego is something that also works a little bit differently, and is very tied to our idea and how we identify ourselves, you know
Mhm.
like, you being a father and a provider and a husband and an employee,
Mhm.
so our identity sometimes comes a lot from what we do and these roles and responsibilities that we take on, you know And so to kind of tie in that idea of perfection, it's like if perfection is tied to that as well, and it's not, and things are not going the way I think it should go, then, we can be very upset about that, and feel like, okay, things are falling apart, or, or I don't measure up, there's something, wrong with me. And that's why it's not perfect, so, but yeah, that's just something that I kind of been, tossing around in my head quite a bit. Like, perfection, is it even something that's real? I don't think it's real. I don't think perfection is a real thing. I don't even think that perfection is needed. I mean, when you think about the things that we do on a day-to-day basis, does it need to be perfect?
That sounds like that would be more individual for them to say this level, which may seem perfectionism, and the others may not. Okay.
So, and I just started reading a book. Well, I'm saying read. I ain't reading. I'm listening.
Audiobook. Got it.
Audiobook. So it's the audiobook that I'm listening to. It's Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown. And I have been hearing such great things about Brene Brown. I was like, I gotta start listening to some of her stuff, because I'm always hearing about it. And so the part that I have listened to so far is like she was talking about, her background and her history with her family, and the mental and emotional history with her family as well. And I thought that was very interesting. And she was kind of saying that of late she's been able to they've gone from toxicity to more healthy, having a healthy interaction, and even being able to acknowledge some of the crap that they went through, early in life, So, like I said, I'm just now getting into it, but I think it's going to be a good read. And plus, as a therapist, and actually Brene Brown, according to her book, she works with a lot of therapists. It's always my goal, to help people heal, and so whatever information or wisdom that I can obtain that helps people heal, I mean, that's the type of information that I want to get to. So
I wanted to ask you, you being a therapist yourself, people have certain expectations of you being a therapist that they may put you in that perfectionist title, or do you have to, is that a tug of war sometimes with you trying to meet expectations?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, in my life, I have been a people pleaser, and I don't like for people to be upset, and I certainly don't want to be the reason why they upset. So now in my growth, I mean, I feel like I've been able to deal with that a lot better. I mean, early on in my career, and I think I may have shared this last week, but early on, people didn't know it, but I was taking them home with me,
Right.
I mean, meaning I was taking their problem and I was taking their issues home with me, and trying to figure out, okay, what is it that I need to say, or what do I need to do, or how do I help this person? And I would toss and toil with that. And I really had to, kind of come to grips with that people pleasing and with that, what I was doing. Cause I was like, okay, Victoria, this isn't healthy.
Mm,
You cannot continue to do this and think that you're going to be sane. Like you
right.
can't do that. Um, so yeah, and as I was talking about, people having, certain expectations going to therapy, you know, you try to make it clear, like, I'm not a fixer, I'm not here to fix you. I don't carry around pixie dust.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not sprinkling none of that on anybody. Like I'm here to facilitate a process.
Mhm.
I'm here to give you a different perspective,
Mhm.
and to introduce something that maybe you haven't thought about before, you know, to
Mhm.
and from a psychotherapy point of view, we call that reframing. I'm a reframe it for you. But
Got
yeah, so to answer your question, yes, I have had to deal with that. And so to bring it full circle,
Mhm.
I have had, I've come to a place where I can entertain the idea that I might not be the best fit for everybody, you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
because sometimes people are looking for something that I really can't provide, you
Got
know.
Mhm.
Um, Now I will say, even though I'm really gentle and I'm soft, but at the same time I'm direct, you
Mhm.
know, and I'm not, certain things I'm not gonna sugarcoat. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna tell you how it is. And sometimes I even tell people, okay, I'm about to take the gloves off. And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm about to be raw with you. I just want you to be prepared. I'm
Mhm.
saying this out of love. Like I'm not saying this because I want to hurt your feelings or anything, but I am going to tell you the truth.
Right.
So
Okay. Phew. I know that has to be tough to break out the tough love
yeah,
at
yeah,
times.
yeah.
Hmm. I got you.
So and
So,
I and it hasn't happened much, thank God. Yeah, but there are times where people say, "Well, I just don't think this is a good fit for me." And I'm like, and it used to kind of like sting a little bit,
mhm.
but now I'm like, okay, I accept that, and I want you to be in the best situation. I want you to be in a situation where you're going to have the type of rapport that's going to work really good for you. You know.
Gotcha. Okay. So let me go back to when we were talking, or when you were talking about egos.
Hmm.
I agree with you that the word ego sometimes is taken in a negative connotation. Someone's ego being pride, or arrogant, or whatever.
Right.
But ego doesn't necessarily mean that.
Right.
That be correct? Could you reiterate on that, please?
Yeah. Um, I'll do my best. Yeah, I guess, in reference to Eckhart Tolle, ego is more, it's not necessarily pride, but it's more in the ways in which I define myself.
Okay. Your ego.
Yeah.
Your being, or
So, it might be better to, I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it, but let's say you're in a codependent relationship
mhm,
and your happiness is contingent on whether or not your partner is happy, right?
mhm,
Or if things are okay with them, then it's okay with me.
mhm,
Well, to me, that means that in a lot of ways, I have defined myself and I've wrapped myself around the role that I play in this person's life,
Mhm.
you know? And if I'm allowing that to determine my own level of happiness,
Mhm.
then to me that's an ego, right?
Gotcha.
Um, ego can also be described as the story that you tell, you
Mm.
know, the narrative. Like, coming from a dysfunctional family, um, and you tell yourself, well, I'm not good enough, or things don't, normally things don't work out for me. Um, I'm low man on the totem pole.
Mhm.
That's your ego,
Mhm.
so and there's there can be a situation where there's nothing positive about that, and people are like, well, how is that ego? Yeah, that's still ego, because that is the way in which you have defined yourself, you know
Gotcha.
and that's, as we would say, the lens that you look through and how you're looking at yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah, a part of that is ego,
Gotcha.
or how you feel other people are looking at you, you know
Mm. Mhm.
so
Okay.
does that make sense?
Most definitely. That
Yeah.
that cleared up a lot. All right.
Hmm.
So let's dig into this perfectionism a little more.
Uh-huh.
So you feel perfectionism isn't real. You think it's something that we put on ourselves rather than it actually being something real, obtainable, and so on.
Yeah, I mean, I completely 100% agree with vision, having a vision of
Mhm.
yourself, of your life, of your career, your relationships, 100% agree with having vision.
Mhm.
Um, I 100% agree with setting goals, and having dreams and having aspirations, and having ideas about how those dreams and goals are going to be accomplished. Um, However, I don't agree with perfection. You
Mhm.
know, Now, should we strive for the best? Should we try to create, the best situation? Absolutely. You
Mhm.
know, but sometimes I feel like we do get tied to perfection.
Mhm.
And sometimes, I mean, I've even heard people say, I'm not gonna start working on this dream. I'm not gonna start working on my vision because I need A, B, and C, and D, and E, and F to line up perfect.
Mhm.
And if it doesn't, that means I can't start.
Mhm.
Well, I'm like, no, no, you can start, because what if the thing is that A, B, C, D, E will never line up perfectly? Does that mean you never gonna start? Does that mean that you're never going to pursue these things that you truly desire? That doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
So even if it isn't perfect, even if it doesn't line up perfectly, even if this isn't your perfect imagination or your perfect dream,
Mhm.
then still step out there and start. You
Agreed.
know, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. There's been a lot of things I have been extremely scared to do.
Mhm.
Like, so scared. Like, real scared, you know.
Okay.
I mean, to case in point, when I first really stepped out there in private practice,
Mhm.
I was so comfortable. I was comfortable with my job. I mean, I could pay my bills, I could take care of my kids. I mean, I was like, this is gravy right here. I'm good.
Mhm.
And then God allowed a situation to come about, and it was like, oh, oh, I, oh, it's changing. And really, the thing was, no, it's time for you to step out.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for you to do this thing that you said that you wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's time. Now is the time, and that's what happened, And
Mm-hmm.
so, but I was so scared because I was like, what if this doesn't work?
Mm-hmm.
What if I fail? What if I fall on my face?
Mm-hmm.
What then? And it's like, well, you can what if for the rest of your life.
Easily.
you can come up with 10,000 different scenarios with every single thing that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And but at what point do you say, okay, now I'm going to do this?
Mm-hmm.
And from a spiritual standpoint, I mean, I think the key thing, manifestation, is real.
Mm-hmm.
It's a real thing. The things that you think about, the things that you pray about, the things that you dream about, I mean, that stuff is real. Like you can really do it,
Yeah.
but it's gonna take you making a step that makes you feel uncomfortable. It's not about staying comfortable, So to get to the dream, you gotta, it's like that's a part of the process.
Yes, indeed. I know for my sake, the fear of failure was strong. The fear of failure was strong.
Mm-hmm.
But when I finally got to that point that I didn't care, I've probably failed 4 or 5 businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Blast is probably the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still going.
Yeah.
I just
started from the bottom. Now you're here.
I had gotten to the point that I'm in great company. I'm with, friends
Mm-hmm.
that are helping with this business, and we're all treading water together.
Mm-hmm.
But I hear you. You can't let your what ifs outweigh the dream, because it will definitely take the dream from you. And Blast was so big, I was like, yeah, let's do it. And this was during COVID time too.
Yeah. I mean, I remember you talking to me about Blast when you all were in the process of launching, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
It is truly, truly amazing. And that's why I was saying I'm, so incredibly proud of you and what you've done and what you're doing. And, I tell people all the time, man, you cannot be successful by yourself.
Right.
As a matter of fact, you don't want to be successful by yourself,
Agreed.
So as you're in this process of helping other people to be successful, you are creating success for yourself all at the same time,
I believe it. Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's amazing. I think this is just the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just gonna continue to get greater. So that's what I think.
Get ready. I'm with that. So I tell you what, we will do our Blast Artist of the Week, and then we'll come back and we'll talk more with therapist Tori. And our Artist of the Week is my man Elijah Rosario, and this is Aura.
Should've known, baby. Should've known, baby. Should've known, baby. Should've known. Should've known. It's your mind, it's your wave, it's your aura. Wanna get to know you, wanna get to know you. By the way you work those hills, you be dressed to kill. Wanna get to know you, wanna get to know. It's your mind, it's your wave, it's your aura. Wanna get to know you, wanna get to know. By the way you work those hills, you be dressed to kill. Wanna get to know you, wanna get to know. I'm digging your style, I love it when you smile. Any room you walk into, girl, you always shut it down. Got a Coke bottle shape, when you walk I see it shake. Wanna take it off display, come and take a ride with me. Girl, if you just give me time, I'll enhance your mind. If I brought you flowers for no reason, would you mind? Make love just how you want it. Cook breakfast every morning. Before you go to work, we get it poppin', got you moaning. It's your mind, it's your wave, it's your aura. Wanna get to know you, wanna get to know you. By the way you work those hills, you be dressed to kill. Wanna get to know you, wanna get to know. It's your mind, it's your wave, it's your aura. Wanna get to know you, wanna get to know. By the way you work those hills, you be dressed to kill. Wanna get to know you, wanna get to know. I need you in my life, 'cause the way you make me feel, all these butterflies. I said I want you as my own, please let it be known I'm chasing you. 'Cause I'll follow you through heaven and hell just to be close to you. It's all I wanna do, yeah. 'Cause you know it's your mind, it's your wave, it's your aura. Wanna get to know you, wanna get to know you. By the way you work those hills, you be dressed to kill. Wanna get to know you, wanna get to know you. It's your mind, it's your wave, it's your aura. Wanna get to know you, wanna get to know. By the way you work those hills, you be dressed to kill. Wanna get to know you, 'cause it's your, 'cause it's your. It's your mind, it's your wave, it's your aura. Wanna get to know you, wanna get to know you. By the way you work those hills, you be dressed to kill. Wanna get to know you, wanna get to know. It's your mind, it's your wave, it's your aura. Wanna get to know you, wanna get to know. By the way you work those hills, you be dressed to kill. Wanna get to know you, wanna get to know.
Yes, indeed. And that's Elijah Rosario with Aura. And if you are an artist or if you're an independent comedian that is looking for some exposure, you can go ahead to blastmusic247.com and register as a artist. Fill out your genre, and there it is. You are a part of the team. And just like Rosario, he's been with us since our launch a year ago, and he is doing amazing. So again, that's blastmusic247.com. Changing the industry one artist at a time. All right.
I like that song. That was nice.
And I have you know, that's not his strongest song. That dude is his music is incredible. He is an awesome guy. You can also he's got his own stage on Blast too. The dude is great.
Yeah, I might have to check him out a little bit more because I really like that. That was nice. Oh, yeah. That was real nice.
So again, by us creating this platform, we're able to hear these kind of artists from all over the globe, and we've gotten some from South Africa. When we first launched, we had a guy from the UK. I mean, it's just amazing how the love of music impacts the world. And, we always feel that people outside of the United States appreciate music a lot more than Americans do. I don't know. It's a whole different mindset. Like even like hip hop overseas, man, it's like they crave it.
Really?
It's a whole different thing. What's up, M? Yeah, it's just a different mindset, you know.
Oh, I wanted
Yeah,
to say hello to AB too. He said
sure.
hello while we were talking.
Oh, no worries, no worries. Give him some love.
Whoever is listening, thank you.
Yes, indeed. We do thank you guys for coming out and chilling with us for a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Now,
I'm always open to questions too. If anybody wants to ask a question on here,
indeed,
I have no problem with that.
indeed, we will eventually get lines and all that other good stuff. But you can drop
Mhm.
a question if you have one. She'll be more than glad to answer any questions you have. So, what was the what was like the green light for you to make you pursue your dream in therapy?
Uh, I'm trying to remember. um, yeah, I think well, I knew that I wanted to help people. I mean, I knew that. And you know, I mean, growing up, I always asked why this, why that, why is my family like this, why do you act like that, you know, why? And so, you know, that created the interest in psychology because, you know, I guess for lack of a better word, I wanted to understand how people think, you know, as they
Mhm.
say, what makes you tick, you know. I wanted to understand that. And you know, I mean, I find people interesting. I mean, it's like everybody I talk to, like I'm like, they are so interesting, and the way that they experience life and the way that they process things
Mhm.
is really, really interesting and different, you know. So you know, and even though I do have some clients with some severe mental health issues, I mean, I knew I didn't want to work in like a facility.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I did work in a couple of correctional facilities, but you know, I never worked in a mental health facility. So, but being in private practice, I think, you know, gives a lot of freedom, and it feels much more practical to me, you know, to kind of deal with, you know, the day-to-day life issues that people have. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's it.
I will tell you one of the beautiful things about Blast and all the people who are already a part of the team, just like you say, you get to see how they have different thought patterns and the way they view things, or it causes you to just sit back and kind of just see all the differences and how everyone is still working together even though they think totally different. And I
Hmm.
appreciate that. Like my friend Emily, she's from Ontario, Canada, and
Hmm.
she's a part of one of our podcasts. And she's just as goofy as we are, but we all have a common joy, which is video gaming. So
Uh-huh.
that's our bridge, you know.
Hmm.
And but she's always been very supportive of Blast and everything. And you just appreciate the people that you do come across, you know, your path. So I'm sure, just
Hmm.
like you said, I'm sure you met some very interesting people, even though some may have had traumatic issues. You
Hmm.
still knew where there was a bridge that you could walk across and understand where they're coming from. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
I got
Absolutely.
you. So, see here, Mr. Brown was asking, what are the keys to a healthy relationship?
Keys to a healthy relationship. It's a lot of
Whole bunch of keys.
it's a whole bunch of keys. Um, no, that's a very good question. Well, you know, in working with couples, which I actually love working with couples, even though it's very challenging. But one of the things that we cover a lot when it comes to communication is the 10 habits of highly successful intimate relationships.
Okay.
And so the first one we kind of go over is avoiding a judgmental attitude.
Mhm.
And one of the ways that you know that you're being judgmental is like when you're saying things like, oh, that's stupid, or you're really inconsiderate, or why do
Mhm.
you think like that? When you're saying things like that, that there's a connotation of judgment. So avoiding a judgmental attitude, that's one of the things that we talk about. Standing up for yourself without putting your partner down.
Mhm.
um, and which is basically saying like, it's okay for me to stand up for my own values and principles, but I need to do it in such a way that it's not denigrating. I don't have to put you down in order to stand up for something that I believe in or something that I'm passionate about. So it's like just making sure that you continue to be respectful, even if there's something that you don't necessarily agree upon, right?
Gotcha.
Um, I'm probably not going to get this in order, but some of the other things is one of the big things is identifying and explaining what's at stake. Um, And what that means is, we all come with stuff, right? Like we all have stuff. I have stuff from my past with my family. You got stuff, in your past with your family, or, we come from different dynamics, you know. So it's like, creating or establishing a foundation in which I can share some of the vulnerable things, bless you, some of the vulnerable things that I've been through, and explain to you what is tender, um, and it can, I just make up something. Like it can be something as simple as, okay, my spouse will get up and walk out the door and go to the grocery store and not say nothing to me.
Mhm.
Now, you might say, okay, well, why is that a big deal? Well, if I deal with issues of abandonment,
Mhm.
you know, and that's triggering for me because maybe my parents used to just get up and leave and not say anything, and I didn't see them for days. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I'm making it up. I'm not saying that this is a real thing, but
Mhm.
so, I would need to identify and explain, like, why is that a tender issue, or why is that triggering for me, you
Mhm.
know and how do we work with that, how do so I mean, it could be just a minor adjustment, of somebody saying, well, hey, sweetheart, I'm getting ready to go to the store, I'll be right back. you
Right.
know I
Right.
mean, it could be something very simple. And
Right.
so it's being able to, talk about and express some of these tender, vulnerable things, so that I can explain to you what's at stake for me. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean that at all. It's just, this is something that I deal with, So,
Mhm.
um, those are, um, some simple things that I'm not going to go through all 10 of them, but those are some of the factors, that come into, creating an environment of better communication in relationships. Um, Sometimes I talk to people about what's called the four horsemen of the apocalypse, which I don't even know if I can name all those, but like contempt, contempt is one of those things, contempt, resentment, stonewalling. Stonewalling is, I'm shutting it down, and I'm, and I'm building up this barrier between us. Why? Because again, from an ego perspective, the ego is telling me I need to protect myself, you know. So and things like that, I mean, why it has such an ominous name is because those are really big things that can affect your relationship. Because if you can't talk,
right,
it's going down, you know.
right.
It's going down. Like, and I'm not saying a relationship is doomed, but if you can't talk, then it's not a good sign, you know. And so that's just the indication that, you know, we kind of need to turn some things around. So
it's amazing how communication is what can either help or destroy a relationship, as something as just talking. And I get it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, when I was young and in a relationship and married, I mean, this is a real thing. Like, I used to literally think that my spouse was supposed to read my mind. You know, and it's like, I mean, I really thought that. Like, you should know what's going on in my head. And that would, listening to that now, that's like the craziest thing that a person is, probably the craziest thing somebody could say. Well, it's like, how is that supposed to happen? How am I supposed to know what's going on in your head? You know, and that's why communication is so important. I don't know what's going on in your head. I don't know what you're thinking, you know. So I have to tell you what I'm thinking. I have to tell you what's going on, you know. So, I mean, yeah. And then sometimes people feel like, well, what if I don't know how to respond to it? Well, you might not. You might not know how to respond to it. Maybe, and maybe you need time to think about what I said or what I expressed. And it's okay. It's okay to say that. It's okay to say, well, I don't really know how to respond to that right now. You know, give me a little bit of time to think about it, and, you know, we'll reconvene, you know, this conversation at another time, or, you know, in a couple of days or whatever, after I have some time to kind of process what I just heard, you know. So yeah, sometimes people don't want to take that time, you know, because I know I used to be like that too. Oh no, you're gonna talk about this right now. Like,
Miss Carla said that, just say I need a moment.
yeah. I mean, that's a good one. I mean, you know, and it's okay to ask for that. Now, I will say we need to be with somebody that can respect that, you know, because sometimes in relationships, people don't respect, I need a moment, or I need some time, you know. So
I do recall someone I was with, they didn't understand space, and they were the ones that, okay, we have a ought, so let us deal with the now. No, maybe I want some time to process, cool down, you know what I'm saying? So that when we do discuss it, I won't blow up on you.
Right.
Emily said, Sam and I have our own brand of ridiculous, and we have an agreement where we can stop and acknowledge it when it happens and move on. But see, that's their understanding. That's their thing. Yeah. Not everybody's wired like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty awesome. You know, if either one or both can be like, okay, time out, like, we tripping right now. Let's revisit this later. No, that's great. I mean, that's a strong relationship. You know, and that's something that you can build on, because you're right, Troy. I mean, not everybody can do that, you know.
Right.
Right. But yeah, that's good. That's good. I like it.
If you guys got any more questions or comments, definitely please drop it. Thank you, Miss Carla and Emily, for those comments. So What do most relationships seem to struggle in? What is like the major relationship hindrance that's out there?
Mm, Good question. I mean, I have seen so many different things in couples therapy. And,
Mhm.
every couple that comes to therapy is not necessarily in crisis. And I love when I see that. But to answer your question, communication, 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 communication.
Carla
Oh,
said money.
money.
Mr. Aaron asked if it's financial. So they both feel
um,
money is a factor.
sometimes I think communication comes across more than money.
Hmm.
Um, and I would say money is a part of communication too, because sometimes we have different values. We have a different value system when it comes to money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one person might be a spender. One person, wants to save everything. So that can. Um,
Yep.
she said maybe communication about money. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, definitely.
Right.
Um, Now, I yeah, communication about money that definitely comes up because people have so many different ideas about how money should be handled. And
You
that's
and I
the thing,
both.
like we come into relationships with the should, you should do this and you should do that. Um,
Well,
and
broke is a language in itself, right? Ain't got no money is a whole language in itself.
yeah, what did Aaron just say? You said
I'm
something
sorry.
on.
He said communication, where does it go wrong?
Um, Yeah, I can't really come up with an overarching statement for that. Um, you know, Listening is not easy.
True.
And I know that I've struggled with it myself. I think obviously being a therapist helps me with the idea of listening, but sometimes, especially when it concerns conflict, we stop listening.
Mm,
Because it might be something that you say or the way that you say it. And I've stopped listening and now I'm just trying to come up with my comeback, you
mm,
know, or my defense.
right.
And I haven't listened to the whole message, you know. Like
Mm,
I only listened to part of it and then I took part of it and I started running with it. And I didn't really get the entire message that you were trying to convey. So I think listening is the toughest part of
mm,
communication, you know, because again, like if I'm only listening to part of what you say and then I'm starting to build my defense, at
mm,
that point, I've
right.
allowed my ego to take over,
Mm-hmm.
because I might be trying to refute your point or I might be trying to, you know, defend myself or say that I'm right, and at that point now my ego is a part of this conversation.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I think listening is probably the biggest thing. And one of the things that I try to do a lot with couples that I work with is mirroring, like I'm listening to what you say and then I'll summarize or I'll mirror back what I heard. What I heard you say was this,
Mm,
this, and this. Did I get that right? And is that what I just want to clarify, is that what you're saying?
mm,
And the reason I do that is because I'm demonstrating a tactic to them, so whenever you and we'll talk about that in some of our later shows, but a little bit on the imago dialogue, the mirroring, the validation and empathy, you know. And I'm not gonna chase that rabbit right now, but mirroring it is a communication tool, and that can be used in a lot of different arenas.
So with that situation of communication being the challenge in most couples, is it not necessarily the talking, but it's the lack of listening? A lot of them aren't taking time to listen. Is that what the issue is?
Yeah. You know, I think sometimes that we take a lot of things personal. And sometimes it's about the backstory. Sometimes it's about the narrative that has been present for years and was present long before I met this person. And but when an issue or something comes up, I may be paying more attention to that backstory and that narrative that was already present rather than what you're trying to share with me.
Gotcha.
You know, and that's the thing that causes me to become defensive, because I'm trying to defend myself about something I think that you're saying. It may not be what you're really saying, you know, but because that narrative is already there, then I'm feeding off of that. So does that make sense?
That it does.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is always with the comeback, and nobody's just willing to just let go and, you know, make things right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not always into battling. I'm a peacemaker. I thrive for peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys, we are getting close to winding down, but we will still take any comments or questions or concerns. So how big is peace to you?
Oh man, peace is huge for me. You know, if I, you know, that I, like you said, I thrive off of that, and I have to have it. I, you know, because I've taken on this, you know, role in my life, and I'm listening to people's problems and issues and concerns all day and all week. I have to have peace when it comes to my personal life. Like, if I don't, and sometimes it's not about what's around me. Sometimes it's about what's in me. And, you know, if I don't feel at peace, that's something that I have to rectify very, very quick, because I don't, you know, I don't do well, you know, when I don't have peace. So it is immensely important. So I can't, you know, I can't deal with a whole lot of conflict and friction and drama and that, you know, just, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Amen, Miss Carla. Peace is like air to me. Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Gotta have it.
Yes.
Did you ever?
And you don't have to wait for anybody to give it to you. That's the greatest thing about it. Like,
No doubt.
you can take on peace. You can, you know, it's not about everything going on outside of you. It's about the peace that is internal, you know. So,
you know, I live like an hour away from every family member, so they don't just, oh, I was in the neighborhood. No. You drive out there and I'm not there, you're gonna be heated driving all the way back. I agree. I'd rather be that house on the hilltop so I can see when they're coming. And no, you don't call and set up something. That door does not open.
You said you'll be mad driving back home.
Facts. Yeah, I love my peace. I agree with Miss Carla. So So, what else is on your mind before we take off, Miss Therapist Tori?
Well, I think I got it all out for today. Um, no, I would if there's any, I guess, heart issues, as in emotions. Like I said, I would definitely recommend that book, Atlas of the Heart, by Brene Brown. I think that'll bring a lot of perspective. And I think that's the biggest thing I want to kind of walk away with is, how do I create that peace in my life? How have I been? Maybe there's some things that I can rectify with that. So, I know, to piggyback on some of the things that we've been talking about today, I think forgiveness is a big piece of that. And I know that's a big word, and maybe that's where we can kind of pick up next time, is kind of talk about how what we're talking about today in terms of peace and perfection. How does that tie into forgiveness?
Yeah, forgiveness is a big thing. That was kind of a lot of things I learned on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, forgiveness I take that very serious. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The hardest part is the forgetting it. After you forgive, to forget, so you could just move on instead of keep taking that forgiveness away. That's a whole nother ball game.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Miss Therapist Tori, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your knowledge, but most of all, being very transparent. There's a lot of stuff you shared that you had personally gone through, and appreciate you opening up those doors.
Yeah.
Sometimes being honest, I know, helps too.
Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Well, everybody, we will see you next Friday. It'll be 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Central. Definitely right here again, living the abundant life. You guys have a wonderful night, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you. Y'all take care.